longer a weakness. They feel better about it because they feel confident enough on something they need to know.
Oh, let's go. Party time.
It's a whole continuum, and every single preference is on that continuum.
Adjust their chin angle down so they can perceive the ball up a little bit more.
Another episode, MPE Podcast. This episode, we got two very special guests, Jim Gasso and Casey White from the Gasso Center of Excellence. Appreciate you guys coming on and joining us, and excited to get to it. Got Matt Woods here. How you guys doing? Everyone's doing all right?
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. Just trying to make a living.
Well said. Casey, how you doing?
Been amazing. Missing you guys, that's for sure.
Absolutely. We're going to get into it, but I mean, we had an awesome week together. The four of us specifically got to spend a lot of time together, and Cam Ginger as well, as part of the pack there. But no, we had an exciting week down in Oklahoma. Got a chance to go through a coaches clinic, working with a bunch of different coaches from what I always think is cool is to be in different parts and different levels of our community. You know, you have college coaches all the way to, youth level coaches and everyone in between, and different backgrounds, which is what I think is cool and something that, that resonates with the four of us too. Went to a couple different camps as well, so we'll get into all this stuff. But the first thing we like to do when we have guests on is, in their own words, Casey, we'll start with you. Kind of describe what motor preferences means to you.
Ooh, that's a loaded question there. So I guess like motor preferences to me is kind of basically the natural intrinsic way that we create movement that our body naturally prefers to, without, conscious thought. It's submax effort. It's not strenuous on the nervous system, and it actually is pleasable to our body, is the way I like to think of motor preferences.
That's not Jim. What do you got? What would you say? You're describing MPE in your own words. What do you got?
It's an upgrade. An upgrade, like computers, they get upgraded.
Yeah.
The technology gets better.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think of the MPE and you guys.
Upgrade optimization. I love it.
I love that. That's gotta be elite.
And I think what's so cool about like those definitions, and every speaker that we bring on here, is that they describe it in different ways, but there's no right way to describe it. So you have almost on the ends of the continuum there. We talk about that all the time, like Casey and his interpretation and what he sees, and then also from Jim's standpoint and point of view, like what that looks like for the athletes and the players that come through and learn it. So super cool how people start to make sense of it in their own mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you guys coming from different backgrounds. Jim, you've been in every sport, it seems, all over the place, different levels. Casey coming from, when we first met, an opportunity with a facility in Dallas, working with a bunch of baseball players. Just curious, when we you first heard about it, what was like that first interaction? What was your first initial thoughts? Casey, we can start with you, and then we'll go to Jim. But tell us like your initial thoughts with it.
Yeah, so I guess like before actually getting exposed to it, what had always kind of intrigued me was basically just bluntly, you have like all these facilities across the country. You have coaches with different ideologies, methods that they're using, right? And I always thought it was like so interesting to see how it's like, some players were able to get better. Some players got hurt. Some players got worse, like when they used very specific training methodologies. And so that kind of piqued my interest, but there never really was like a true kind of assessment process or guidelines for how basically classification of movers. It was more just system here, system there, and you try to take pieces from each part and blend it together to try to fit the athlete. But there wasn't like a one unified system. So obviously, just with the injury rates and everything, I got super interested in like, if some athletes are getting better and some athletes are getting hurt, like what are we missing? What is going on? So, you start to basically just poke holes in things. You're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This person's saying this thing can't happen, but it happens here. And so like when you get down that rabbit hole, you're basically kind of, as say it, before you enter motor preferences, you enter like no man's land. You're lost on the journey. You're like, what do I do? Like every method I'm doing, it's not working. I'm getting players hurt, all of these things. And it's kind of funny how it works because it's like right at that moment, that's when motor preferences seems to come in for most coaches. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the answer. So getting exposed to it and being able to have basically a system of classification to use to test athletes, basically being able to profile them and then put them in the ranges of motion that they like to perform in was just like eye-opening. It was mind-boggling. It was the first system that I said, this makes sense. This helps us understand why players that go to this facility get better, why players that hit with this coach get better, why players that use this strength training method. It made entire sense. It basically was just like the bubble surrounding everything for me that we just hadn't quite gotten because we'd been looking at things in such an isolated view. We hadn't taken that holistic global perspective of the athlete, and this was the first system to do so. So it was just amazing, mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you talk about kind of like an ecosystem and giving athletes the resources, right? And I think what's awesome about it is kind of a nice segue into what is the Gasso Center of Excellence, a place for athletes to come and a place for coaches to learn. And Jim, would just love to hear kind of like your outlook on the center and kind of like what your vision is for it in general.
Okay, well, real quickly, I got involved back in the day. Your DJ's almost 30. So I don't know if you guys remember Tom House. You guys know who Tom House is?
Mm-hmm.
He had that national pitching association group, and he was into the functional fitness and agility stuff that he was in, flexibility, movement, fitness. And so I would go to his clinics. And and then I met those guys, the people down in San Diego, the golf group. And then those guys really, really opened up, the stuff that we're doing now. And so I was like, man, I'm always into learning more and more of what I can do to help train athletes and coach. And so with that in mind, then you guys came along, and man, I saw that thing. I said, man, this is a no-brainer because of the technology, everything that you guys talk about, everything that we do is just totally. I mean, it's makes sense and it fits into the science and so forth. And man, I couldn't have been more like excited. It was just the opportunity for me to decide when I can make a partnership and get involved even more, and then my both my boys are all, they're into the science of the same thing that we're talking about. And so it's a no-brainer for us. And intensity, when I put that together and built it because everything that I do there, the sport I trained. So there's baseball fields, there's soccer fields, there's football fields. And those are all the sports that I've coached at the collegiate, high school level, junior college level. So I had an impact, at those different sports and learned a lot because, every athlete is different, right? And man, everybody does things differently. And so I've always had that curiosity of, man, that makes a lot of sense, because this guy, you can't do this and this guy can do that. Okay, but let's, how do they complete the task? And they just make it happen. But the golf guys, man, those guys are geniuses. And the way, what they do to those guys, what they were bringing back years ago. But anyway, so that's part of who we are now. I'm no longer intensity. And I use the word intensity because I really believe in, the intensity of your workouts, of your training. And that's how I like to train. I tell the athletes, when they work with me, I always tell them that the practices are for the coaches and the games are for the players. And so I really believe in that. And so that's why I named that facility Intensity. But, I upgraded to motor preference experts, and you guys are the experts. And man, I'm excited, for what's to come. And I got a really good coworker, my boy. His name is Casey White. I love the kid. Nothing but love. There you go.
I love
Absolutely.
it. And when you start thinking about like the outlook of the center, like what do you hope when a parent or when a player inquires about coming to the facility? Like what is your outlook? What do you want to offer to them? What do you want them to leave the doors and get out of coming to the facility?
I want them to know that we have everything that they've been looking for. We're not just going to take their money and that's it, pat them on the back and say, "Oh, okay, you're good." It is not. That would be stealing, and we don't operate that way. But I want them to be happy, just like we had this past week. Everybody there was so jacked up, and they're still talking about it. And so that that to me is a sign that, man, we have something here. And we have something to help these athletes, and we're going to see them, develop, and man, that makes me very happy, because that's why I'm in this business. I'm in the business to teach and to help, and that's what I care about. So that feedback there just motivates me even more.
Absolutely, yeah, and that feedback is continually pouring in, and it's cool, and we've enjoyed getting a lot of it, and more so just for the players, right? Like the ability to impact these players. What's unique about the Gasso Center of Excellence is the location being right in the middle of the country. So we have players from all over the country to be able to come in, coaches from all over the countries being able to come in. So it's just like a special, atmosphere where you walk in and you're ready to learn, you're ready to get better. Some way, shape, or form, you're ready to get better. And I think that's the cool part of it. So Casey, what about you? What are you hoping for people to take away from, when they leave the facility, they say X about, their experience?
Yeah, well, I think the first and foremost thing is, I think Jim would agree with me on this, that this is just a vessel that we're using for these kids to use right now in their playing career, and it impacts them later on in life. I think Jim would agree. That's the ultimate goal of this facility, is that we're trying to change these players' lives. And motor preferences is the tool that we're using here at the facility to do that. So, but I think the biggest thing that what we want to do is we want to make athletes know who they are. And we want them to know how they like to move, how they like to think, how they like to swing, how they like to throw. We want them to understand and walk away with knowledge that they know who they are as a person. Because I think ultimately, not to go on a tangent, but ultimately the problem right now is in baseball and softball is that we have people trying to instill things onto athletes and impose things and make them things they're not, make them think things, make them move the way that they need to move. And ultimately, I think that's the opposite of what we believe in. We believe in each person is totally unique, and we want to empower that individuality. We don't want to suppress it. We want them to walk away feeling fulfilled, knowing who they are, what they like to think, how they like to swing. And if we do that and instill them early on like this, then after their playing careers on, they're just going to be in a much better place in life, walking away with that information. So that's ultimately what we hope to impose on these athletes. And I think after our first week, I think a lot of the athletes would say that's kind of what they were able to walk away with.
Yeah, I keep hearing the same thing from both of you guys, and something we say often is fulfillment produces the best results. Like when people are happy doing something, they do it to the best of their ability. So I think like the biggest takeaway from us over the week was, how many coaches left, smiling, how many players and parents left smiling, how many, college players that came in, had that aha moment and just were happy to hang out and against girls that, they play against, during the season. So it's just a really awesome family environment, that Jim and Casey have cultivated over there. And we're fired up to keep having different events there throughout the year.
Yeah. Hey, the other, I was just going to add was, besides, Casey touched on it a little bit, but besides the training of their physical, right? I also want them to, we're going to touch on their mental aspect, their social aspect, their emotional aspect, their intellectual and their spiritual, because all when you touch all of that, man, it makes them a good overall person. and a great athlete, because they'll have that desire to be the best that they can be with all those tools that are ahead of them. That's one thing we wanted to add.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually, as you say that, it's a good opportunity to talk about kind of what the facility looks like, what the land looks like, how you kind of have it laid out. Obviously, we got a chance to get over there. For the people that don't know what the layout might be, can you kind of go through what you guys have in and around the facility?
Well, my man Casey, he brought in some great equipment, and so we have let me see, that's a 8,000 square foot indoor, and I knew that when I built that was going to be my number one. That's the first thing I built, and that way we'll have that, and we'd started doing our training and so forth, but we were able to go year round, and apparently. And when we got to Oklahoma, there wasn't too many of facilities, period. And so when the weather was bad, they had no training today. So anyway, so that was one of the first things I built, and then I built the fields, and so now I was able to go year round and do that. But we have I'm able to put 6 cages in there. And then if we don't use the cages, then we can open it up, and now we have a small infield that we can do infield work and throwing. It's for baseball. We have the cages that are for pitching, and then so we're at the right distance. So I made them long enough so that we can entertain and take care of our baseball colleagues in pitching. And so, but it's then we have the weight room like I talked about. And then outdoors, we have we sit on 23 acres, and we have a softball field, fast pitch, and then we have a football, soccer field, and then we have a baseball field that I've also used for fast pitch. And at my facility, you'll never see us playing slow pitch, ever.
Never.
Yes. So you want to add anything? Casey, anything else that I miss?
No.
No, you tackled it all. And you brought up there's so much space, and just the ability to have anything that you need there, as well as an entertainment standpoint of, we had the opportunity to have a cookout there, with both our one of our camps, and then also our coaches clinic, and just the ability to be around the community. And that's what I think is an important part of, getting on here, is to be able to communicate with the community. Like, our doors are open, you want to have those conversations, whether it be with a local high school or travel ball teams around the state, or even bordering states. I think it's just a great opportunity being so close to Oklahoma City, being in Norman. You can't really go wrong with it. But it made me think about the cookout, and that's one of the things that stands out to me over the course of the week. And we had such a great time. What's some things that stand out to you guys, from the course of the week, from, Coach Gasso coming in on the first day and being able to talk to our now trained coaches, and JT stopping by as well, all the way through watching a bunch of home runs being hit on the field. So what's some things that stood out to you guys?
So I think definitely for me I think last week perfectly encapsulated what we want the facility to be. What we don't want it to be is like some silo operating on its own, away from coaches, away from high school coaches, travel ball teams, and acting like we have the best product and we're going to hide it from everybody and no one can see what we're doing because we have the secret sauce. I think Jim would agree too on this. It's like, that's not what we stand for. Our goal is the number one priority is to help the athletes. And that means collaboration. Collaboration in today's culture is absolutely necessary for these players to have success. You can't work in silos anymore. It doesn't work like that. You can see the disaster that's causing in the MLB right now. When people try to work in their own thing, and protect information, you're just hurting the player. We want this to be a welcoming center. We want to be able to collaborate, just like with what you said. We want to be able to work with the high school coaches, the travel ball teams, all the organization facility coaches, anybody and whoever wants to work with us. That's what we want to do, because this information is just so good. We want to help as many coaches and players as we can. And last week, to be able to see, 20 coaches coming in from across the country, 10 athletes come up for our youth camp, and then get to have 8 elite high level Division I softball players. That's what this facility was about. It was about reaching all ages, all levels of skill, and empowering them with this information so they can be the best version of themselves. That's really what last week was about and what we want the facility to be.
Yeah, I can't add any more than that.
That is just so well said. Mine might have to be close to my top moment. I'll let Matt go after, but those tacos we got off the taco truck. I mean, come on.
I mean, that, yeah.
I know you. I mean, come on. Those are delicious. They're unbelievable. Matt, what do you got?
It's only good when you leave all the ingredients that's supposed to be in there.
That's right.
And what do you have to drink with it?
You have to have either a 7-Up or a Coke.
Yep.
No Pepsi.
No Pepsi.
No Pepsi.
For those listening at home, no Pepsi.
Simple. No, I think like Casey encapsulated. I think to double down, like this facility is meant to collaborate with everybody, and especially in Oklahoma, but also countrywide. So if you're a listener and you want to get involved, whether you're a travel ball coach, a high school coach, a college coach, and you want an area where you can go that players can be truly individualized, like shoot us an email, send us a text. Like we want this facility to be, it's open to everybody. Like, and we want to just provide this information and give guidance and provide suggestions on, true individualization. And whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, whether you're a parent, like that's what this facility is for, is to help the development, in the United States. And we're going to start chipping away at that, with this center of excellence, which we're super excited about.
Yeah, Casey, like I wanted to throw it over to you for a second and talk about how, what are some ways that you guys are envisioning being a part of the community? Just so for those listening, or watching, they can get an idea of, how you guys can actually work together.
Yeah, so basically, as we said, the number one goal is for us to collaborate. We're not looking to just hide athletes in our facility, because we just know that's not how it's working right now. So we've actually created a multitude of avenues for you to partner with us, right? Obviously, first off, always take the online course or get the level 1 certification from the MPE guys. It's on their website. I highly recommend the e-course. It's phenomenal, but if you can make it out to an in-person clinic, that is where the gold information is. So always take that information. Kind of like once those guidelines have met, because we don't want to be irresponsible with the information and kind of giving it to people who haven't taken the course or been trained. So once you've gone through that online e-course or an in-person clinic, then we are more than glad to work with you. So at the facility, what you can do is you can bring individual player assessments. You can bring your team for assessments. What we also do is we have continuing education for the coaches, where we dive deeper into topics related to motor preferences. We have ways to implement all of it in kind of like basically more of your day-to-day stuff. We have the ability to teach you how to do warm-ups, how to do your strength and conditioning programs, how to set up practices, how to scout, how to set up your lineup, how to manage your pitching staff based on their preferences. We can teach basically helping them run practices with their own facility. We pretty much have any avenue that you would want to use motor preferences in. We've tried to kind of create solutions for that, to basically just help you in any way we can, from the individual level to the team aspect.
And I know, Jim, you're a big believer in this, but can you touch on like what you said, avid learners? Like we get along with avid learners really well. Can you talk about, how you've been a learner your whole life and why you want to pass that trait on to all the coaches that come through the facility?
Yeah. As a fellow human, we've been put on this earth to do one thing, and that's to live in peace and help your neighbor out. And in my faith, that's I believe in that. I've seen it, and being in the business that I'm in, it's about team. It's always about team, and it starts in the family. And our parents were, our coaches, and everything that they did for us we learn from, and then, not all families are perfect, but they're going to squabble, they're going to do this and that, but at the end of the day, they're all going to find a way to fix things and make things happen. And that is what team sports is all about. I'm all about that. And I didn't know, I had no idea that I wanted to be a coach until I had decided that I was supposed to go to college. I didn't know I was supposed to go to college. I was just having fun. And so, I learned that. Then I was just surrounded by great coaches and great people, and people that really worked with me and helped me get educated and take care of me when I made a dumb decision and so forth. But all of that just cultivated into doing what I'm doing now. And it's just, so now I want to pass it on, just like I want to pass on about the gospel. For me, I give you a personal relationship that's happened to me and my family. And this is the truth, because it actually happened to me. And so God has been good to me, been good to my family. And I mean, it hasn't been perfect for me, because it's not going to be like that. But that's what's happened to me. And I want to share that with everybody. And especially, in what I'm doing now is I want somebody to be better, always better, get better, get better, get better. And that's the whole thing about, why I enjoy seeing and doing for people. That's male and female. And I've coached both sides, and they're both the same.
And that's, if you spend any time with Jim in general, you know that he A, will make you laugh until there's no end. Yeah. And B, he cares about other people. And that's like such a rare trait and awesome to be around. And I think what's really special is you guys have been in Oklahoma and Norman specifically for a while. We got the chance to talk about it. And just what does it mean to you and your family to be able to have a place like this, to be able to really serve the community, like you're saying, and just be a resource for people in your a community that you've been a part of for so long?
Yeah, man, I remember when we first got here in October of '94, and why does that date I'll always remember? Because I really thought that I wasn't going to make it here. It was so damn cold. So, anyways, but it just, the atmosphere around here is just, it makes you, feel wanted. It makes you like be part of a team. And the people were so great to us. We moved in. I never forget this. So we're staying in the hotel for 2 weeks. And then the trucks finally arrived to the place where we're going to be staying. And so we're there and they're unloading stuff. And not even 15 minutes after all that stuff was in, we had people come knock on the door and said, welcome to the neighborhood. The pies and cakes. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. And Patty and I, we looked at each other and go, man, what do they want? Like, I thought we were going to get jacked or something, But that was a true story. But it was that type of attitude in the neighborhood. But I thought, this can't be real. This just can't be like this. But everywhere we went, people were just genuine. They were good people, nice people, and man, they just made us feel home. And so I've fallen in love with this place, and I don't miss being from California. Like, oh yeah, I got to be by the beach, or that's good. But no, I'm not into that. I'm into people. I'm into what's happening in our state, what's happening in our country, what's happening in this world. And there's people that are in need of a lot of things. And for us, it's right now, man, we're going to tell them everything about what we know about MP experts and man, make them the best that they can be so that they can go on and become great at what they do and help people.
Oh, that's the best. It honestly brings me to my next point, and wanted to hear from Casey about this too. As you're being a coach and you're going through all those trials and tribulations and figuring out, these different systems, can you talk about, did you have a certain specific aha moment where, MP has started to put the pieces of the puzzle together? Could it be with a specific athlete? Could it be with a specific drill that you were doing? Was there, a moment where you were like, okay, this is, maybe I was doing things a little bit differently, but now I see where this can be a factor. And now I'm starting to be able to really connect to every single athlete that comes into here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's impossible to isolate it down to one event.
Yeah.
There's just been so many throughout this. I guess kind of like I'm always like, I'm pretty hard on myself as a coach. I sow on the failures more than I do the successes. And especially the injuries and stuff, it's like you're always hyper focusing on the kids that got hurt, the kids that didn't have success, the kids that quit the sport. And it's like, those are the ones that always kind of stuck with me. Yes, the successes are cool, but I was always more worried about the kids I didn't help or I got hurt kind of. So basically, I always sowed on those, like I reaped on those. And I always want to understand, what did I do wrong with this kid? How come this kid can't hit? I read this book, it said to do this. I took this course, it said to do this. So I remember just being like, trying all these things and just never really like, it's the same thing like I said earlier. It's like I had success with, 10 to 15% and I messed up 80 to 90%, It's like I said at the clinic. I mean, it's like, I'm sure I definitely played a part in having some kids have some pars fractures. I definitely had his stuff like trying to make sure people's feet were screwed into the ground when they were swinging. And I definitely probably messed up some ankles and knees, like in hips. And I just remember, man, this just is not it. But there's going to be those aha moments, right? And it's like everything I've done before, I've tried everything out there. And it's like, you never just had that like aha moment, right? But you'll never forget like the moment, just like we had last week with Cheney, right? When it's like, hey, pigeon toe your foot in, let yourself disassociate. And you see her take a swing and it's like, she just stops. She literally swings, backs out of the box. And it's just like, whoa, that was different. Or you tell like an aerial on the right, you tell them like for the first time, I remember, hey dude, like just get out of your legs. Like literally, I just want you to jump out of the ground and like, wow. Or I'll never forget, I had this one kid. Sorry, now you guys got me
keep
all
it rolling.
excited.
This is what we do.
Roll.
I'll never forget. I had this. So like aerial on the right. Like that's the most messed up profile of all time. Associated, springy, elastic, rigid athletes. What doesn't fit into the traditional model of the swing? And I remember I was like, dude, just like I literally just want you to sit here and I want you to do like 20 pogo jumps in a row and then just rip a swing. And he just does 20 pogo jumps, rips a swing, and this kid was the most stoic kid of all time. Like, it's like he was constantly just trying to see, it's like, what are you up to? And then he's just like, you just saw his whole guard just go down. And he's just like smiling. He's like, that was it. That was it. And you're like, those are the aha moments that you live for as a coach that I'd never gotten to experience before this. It's like, and then even just like, I have to say too, like the biggest part about this, right? I will wholeheartedly believe on this. Yes, the effects that you can get, the results. But when a kid truly feels like that you are valuing them for who they are as a person and as a mover, and you're not using some kind of comparison system to show what they're not good at to show another player. When you show that player, like when you give them that assessment, they're like, this makes so much sense. This is who I am. A lot of times that's the first time a lot of these kids have seen value in their swing, in their career, because they're not being compared. And just for kids to be like, wow, like you really don't have an agenda or a bias. Like you're just wanting to help me. That will always be the coolest moment. It'll triumph the successes of the swing, but just to see those kids being like, feeling like they're valued for the first time, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, and it's back to what Jim said. It's people investing in people, and that's my favorite part about MP and why I ended up going to the University of Maryland because of it, was because there was no narrative. Like I knew I was going in there, and there was no narrative about, hey, this is what we're going to do with Matt Woods because it worked with Matt Shaw, or this is what we're going to do with Matt Woods because it worked with this player. Like, no, like we're going to do this with Matt Woods because this is good for Matt Woods, like, and compared to nobody else. So that is my favorite part of, when people send me videos or people send me, just looking for suggestions, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, it depends. Like, I truly don't know. I have to understand so much more about you. And I think there's no simple drill. There's no simple cue that is going to work for everybody. So I need to understand, like, what is your context? Like, what have you learned before? What is natural? What are you working on now? What is your injury history like? And also, what's your profile? Like what preferences? How do you think? How do you, create your present? And yes, that sounds like a lot of context and can sound overwhelming, but like, think about what coaches are doing, without that. They're just guessing. Like, they're just using their own subconscious opinions to suggest things. So now when we actually gather information about the player in front of us, like, I'm not suggesting it for me. Like, I'm suggesting it based off of them and what I've learned about them. And that's the coolest part. Is like, I can go into a cage, like Casey said, and you can have, an aerial, stand them up, think about their shoulders, do a couple pogos and swing. And they're like, wow. And then I could have the next person in who could be moving opposite and is too tall. And I'm like, hey, you need to screw yourself into the ground. So that's the cool part, is like, all the narratives that are out there, they work for the right player. And how can we, like you said, Casey, how can we make it truly individualized for the player so that they feel valued, and because of that, they gain confidence, and the four of us know, and all the coaches out there know, it's a force to be reckoned with when a player has confidence.
Yeah. And that's what I want to,
think that-
can I touch on something real quick, Nick?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so I think like what's super cool too about motor preferences, right, is like, one, you have like the assessment process, right, where it tells you like how you move, like all of these things, where your preferred ranges of motion, all this stuff. And I think that is like the biggest piece of this. It's like what Matt said. It's like, we can't give out a random drill. We can't give out a random thought because we have no idea who you are as a person. We can't post 3 drills to increase your exit velocity. We have no idea what you need. We have no idea we have no idea. Do you have scap problems? Do you have shoulder issues? Do you have hip problems? Do you have Babinski, as we saw last week? You have all of these problems that we don't know basically what you have, so we can't help. And what I want to say like that is, it's not that we can't help, but we can once we gather that information. But what is so cool about MP is the amount of time it spends gathering information on the athlete, that it's the first time you feel like, as a coach, like, it's the first time I've ever been like, okay, like, I feel confident about training this person. I'm not worried about hurting that person. I'm not worried about having them take a big follow through and then them hurting their scap. I'm not having them trying to hold the ground and tear their labrum in the hip. I have the information I need to train the athlete, and I'm not worried about hurting them. And that's like really the first time I've ever had this. So I just wanted to touch on that. And that's why I think it's so valuable that you spend time on this, because this is the first system that actually teaches you how to assess the athlete and not tell you what to do. Truly. And that's what makes this so special.
No, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. One thing that I heard you guys say a lot of was, getting back to those athletes, like their reactions in that moment, thinking about, Cheney stepping away and being like, wow, like just that unlock, just to be able to click with players and really be on the same page as them, I feel like. And you mentioned that, Casey, where it is a partnership when you're working with these players. Jim, we talked about, before understanding how to coach them mentally, you have to understand what kind of person they are. And Coach Swope always talks about, do we, put our hand on their shoulder and say, kind of guide them through it, or do we have to kind of give them some motivational words in order to get things going? I think that's the best part of it, because you can understand more about your player. You understand who actually is in front of you and how they're different from the person that's, maybe next to them, and so on. But that readiness, that mental position that they're in after they get put in profile and they have a clarity. Matt always talks about that mental clarity. Jim, and your passion and what you do a lot of is working from a mental side of things. And how have you noticed, you've seen players that have been in profile, you've seen elite level athletes in general, and you've been around a lot of everything in between. How do you think that kind of relates to a readiness to be able to be coached mentally and the place that they're at once they're in profile, compared to maybe like they're fighting themselves, they have outside things going on, there's distractions? What do you feel like is the difference in the type of athlete there?
I'll give you some examples of what I've come across in all my years of teaching and coaching. And I'll use this one student I had when I was teaching and coaching at Fulton Community College. And I was teaching, I had courses in kickboxing and boxing. And so it was 16 weeks of training. And, to be a boxer, man, you got to be in tip-top shape and be strong. But anyway, so I brought that in, and now I'm teaching students who've never gotten in a fight. They don't know what it feels to get hit. And so I had to learn, what each student brought to the table as far as courage, as far as wanting to learn and so forth. And I had this one student, and this girl was tiny. And man, after that first freaking class, I said to myself, this girl has no shot. No shot. And so I kind of like stepped away and tried to help all these other kids. And so then as we were going on the training and getting through it and everything else, man, that girl took every information that I was given and she like put it in her system. But I didn't see it until, for the final grade, I had a boxing competition. They had to fight each other. And so, but I put them in weight class. And so, man, we had 20 fights, right? And so if they weren't going to fight, then they had to be there and help set it up and put it all together, and so they can get credit. So, anyways, so we're there, weighing people in as they're coming in, signing up, and so forth. And here she comes, and she stands right in front of me, right next to me, for about 3 hours. Didn't say one word to me. Now it's time for us to close the shop because everything's filled up. And then she goes to me, "Hey, coach." I said, "What about me?" I said, "What do you mean, what about you? Can I fight?" I said, "You've been here for 2 hours and you had a chance to sign up and you haven't signed up. So I don't know. I don't think you want to fight. Do you want to fight?" She goes, "Yeah, I want to." And I kind of got a little, then okay, you know what? I'm going to go with it. So signed, put it in. There was one slot left and she filled it, right? And so then she was the first fight. I put her in the first fight just in case anything happened. I can rush her to get help or something. But anyways, so now she's in there, right? And like, remember, I'm thinking, this girl, nothing. The minute the freaking bell rings and she starts to swing, it was like she morphed into another person. And I mean, we had, like I said, a large amount of fights. She was the best fight of the whole day. And she just went after, like, oh my gosh. And I couldn't believe it. So on that part right there, see, I never forced her. All I did was talk to her. And in her training, it wasn't about, stressing her out, but it was just teaching her what she needed to do. She just had the willpower. And she had that spirit inside that is given to us freely by our Creator. He's given us. We all have a spirit of strength, power, and a sound mind. All of us. It's just a lot of us don't want to use it in their life. And the ones that do are always the ones that are going to keep achieving and achieving. In athletics, you have to have that. And if you don't have that, you'll just be average. And so, but that, that's what came up, and I saw it firsthand, and I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten that because that really opened up my head even more. And so then I got a chance to meet Gerald Strawberry, and I started asking questions, and I said, "What kind of training did you do as a kid?" I wanted to know that. And this kid, he wasn't a kid at the time, but when he was a kid, he would have no one to play with. He'd be at home, and all he did was he got a tennis ball and would throw the tennis ball against the garage door and just throw the ball back and forth, back and forth. That's all he would do. And he really, he mentioned that how he got into, just watching the ball and moving his feet and fielding it. He had no gloves. I mean, it was just no glove, just him throwing the ball, just a time. There's a lot of kids out there that play, but they don't think that they're playing, but they are. Getting a rock, throwing the rock, getting a stick, hit the stick, hit the rock, right? Get on a bike and ride the bike. And I mean, that's why playing, and is very important for kids, like I remember when I was a kid, my dad would never let me be in the house. He would get your butt out there and, first work and then you can play. And so I like playing, but I had to work first. And that's the whole concept here. And with our people is that, man, working is playing, and it helps each other out and balances each other out. But the kids that do it are the kids that just are relentless and they don't want to give up. They just, once they get hooked, they just keep going at it. And that's, for me, this is what I see, what we're doing is the motor preference. It's now they know how their body works. Now they know what they can do, so they can, make their adjustments. That's just like they did when they were little.
Yeah.
So
good. It's so good. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And to your point, like when we're little and we're growing up and we're having fun and we're just, playing soccer at recess, playing kickball, playing baseball at recess, like we don't have those technical constraints. Like we just have the objective is to win and to have fun and to have that camaraderie with your team. And like, that's what we want to get back to. Like the industry we're in now is very data driven. It's very constraint oriented. It's very fit in this model or else you're not going to be as good as you can be. But we actually want to get back to with MP is like, no, let's find what you naturally like to do. Let's understand how you think, and let's use 20% of our time to understand, what makes you you. But then the rest of the 80%, like let's work on what actually matters, what actually makes people better, which is, playing for fun, like looking to compete, working on their timing, working on their plan against the player that day, like opening up more time to get back to that, state when you're younger. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, Jim. Casey, and I know you talk with a lot of college players, pro players on your side. What are some of the mental shifts you've seen, working with players before, and then when they start to understand, their own why, what those conversations look like on your end?
Yeah, especially now with the portal and everything, I've spent more time on the phone this past year than I ever want to in my life talking to these kids. And it's a sad time. Honestly, it sucks. But these kids are under more stress now than ever. You have the overstimulation with the phones, the TVs, you have the blue light, all that stuff. You have the stress they have from school. You have social media compounding stress. You have NIL deals. You have transfer portals. You have 1-year contracts with basically schools. Like it's not a 4-year contract. Like their whole life is basically up in the air. Like they have no basically solid, like, they have a solid foundation, but they have no foundation in knowing what's going to happen in the next 6 months. They're one injury away from their career being over and losing $500,000 in NIL money. Like that's just the reality right now of the way that we're operating in. So these kids are operating at extremely high levels of stress. So that's been like the hardest part is like, because we know that it's an ecosystem with the athlete. Each part affects it. Their sleep, their nutrition, all their stress, all these things, they all affect the person as a whole. And now we're tasked with trying to figure out to teach a kid how to hit a slider. And then also hit a fastball. It's 100 miles an hour with a 92-mile-an-hour slider. It's like, this doesn't seem real. It almost seems like a daunting task that just can't be achieved. But ultimately, when you think of all of these things, what they're doing is they're stimulating them. They're trying to stress them out. They're trying to basically remove them from being in the present moment. And I think that basically preferences, all of this stuff, the ultimate goal is for it to make an athlete be able to be present in the moment, wholeheartedly being able to focus on the single-handed task at hand and removing all outside interference effect, basically. So obviously when you have the swings thoughts, you have like all the stuff on social media, all this stress and stuff, being able for a person to find their natural movement preferences, it alleviates a ton of stress for them. They're not having to think how they move. They're not fighting. It's like you'll have kids. It's like I've talked to kids before. It's like they're like, yeah, I spent 6 months working on this drill. And it's like, holy crap, like you're an idiot. Like if you spent 6 months on a drill, it's probably not meant to work for you. Like, I don't know, like maybe try something else. Like, but it's like once you remove that constraint of these things, what these kids have to do, what they have to think, it frees them up. It removes one layer of stress that's not compounding them. Now they're able to be present in the moment. And then that makes it easier to focus on things like what, me and Jim were talking about the other day. It's like that, like being able to be there in that moment and then being in preference, that allows us to work on drop balls, rise balls, sliders, curve balls. It allows them to actually be able to think about what's going on, what they actually need to have an attack for, a plan for. because right now, especially with the data and everything, it's like, like we have these constraint-led approach. We have all this new, we've taken Bernstein and we've just like, honestly, like, I don't even think we're even close to interpreting it right. Like now we're just throwing random bats, throwing random object and telling the athletes to hit. These kids don't even have the ability to focus on what they're trying to do at hand. It's like you're just overwhelming an already stressed out system. And basically, yeah, maybe that says in a, a closed setting in a closed setting in a study, yeah, maybe they do get better. Now, how do they have to compound that when they go out into the field and think about 5 different pitches from 3 different pitchers that they're going to see throughout the game, know the situation, know the signs and all that stuff? It doesn't work like that. Motor preferences removes that layer is the simplest way that I can think about it.
Yeah, I think that clarity is just, to summarize in not so many words, that clarity is elite. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Like from personal experience, it's addicting because it's like, holy crap, like I have so much awareness of myself. Like when the best players are the ones that can problem solve the best. They can make the adjustments sooner. So being able to understand your why and why these things make sense for you and why you do these things under pressure, it's like, okay, I'm able to problem solve for myself. I'm able to make those adjustments quicker. And then, when I'm back at my room at night, I'm scrolling through social media, like I can sift through this information that is out there so much better. And it takes that alleviation of like, okay, my process is I'm doing the right thing. I'm efficient. It's making sense for my body. I'm reducing some of the injury risks that I could potentially have. And I'm in control of my plan and my career when there's so much that you can't control, to Casey's point around that. What team you're going to be on next year? What does the portal look like? Am I going to get recruited to college? Am I on the right travel team? Like, no, you're in control of your career. You're in control of your process, and whatever that does for you, it doesn't change talent, but it optimizes you. Whatever your talent level is, you're in control of it. And I think that's what we want to pass along to all these players, ages young to professional.
Yeah, that's the other thing, part I have to throw in there, especially nowadays with the portal, the inconsistency. You have to know who you are. All of my guys who are in the portal, like, just speaking bluntly, they were ones who basically deviated away from who they were. They allowed outside information on what someone told them they needed to do, how they needed to swing, how they needed to think, what they needed to feel. And that's what ruined their seasons. I'm just going to be blatantly honest. Like, it's not like yes, that does impact their swing, but that's not a swing thing. That's a mental thing of them not being, basically, however you'd want to say it, but strong-willed and knowing who they are. And they allowed outside information to interfere with their swing. And then now they're in the portal.
And that's to your point. And it's not about, athletes. Okay, you get your assessment, you know who you are. It's not about you're not going to be coachable at that point. It's more about like, no, they're just aware that if they're suggested something that, okay, this is the be all end all. You can show examples of everything. Okay, we want you to stay on your back leg. I can show you Frank Thomas hitting off his front leg. You want me to hit off the front leg? I can show you someone hitting off their back leg. You want me to throw like over the top? I'll show you someone that throws from the side. You want me to throw from the side? I can show you someone that throws from over the top. Like, this isn't about not being coachable. It's being aware that these movement solutions are present in every single player that is out there. So can we find the movement solution that's right for the player to allow them more time to work on the things that matter? That's what we want to get out for every player.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I wish that this is an unlimited time episode, and we can just keep rolling, because I think that's what's important. That's what's important for competing. That's what's important for self-development. And really those players that are, they're transferring, and, on the other side of that is, am I going to or meeting with a school that is within the best intention for myself? Is it aligned with things that I need personally for myself? Whether that's, is it a similar swing thoughts? Is it they're going to tailor it to what I need, and whatever it is from there? Can they be? It's the right fit for both sides. I think that's an important part of that. And when you're able to understand yourself and know that, you prefer this or you prefer that, and so on, you getting the help that you need and the resources that you need. So I think that's an important part of it. So for you guys, Jim specifically, how do you see, the next couple of events for you guys? How do you see the next couple of months? What's like, how do you see the Gasso Center of Excellence continuing to evolve and make impacts?
Well, I know that we talked about doing a baseball camp for coaches and players, and so I'm really excited about that. And we're finishing up our website, and we're already getting phone calls of people wanting to start training with us. So that's exciting, and just gonna keep going towards that direction and trying to feed as many people as we can.
Absolutely. Casey, last question for you before I turn it over to Matt if he has anything. What are you most excited about with all this coming into fruition? And our partnership is amazing, and we're really grateful for it on our side. What are you most excited about as things continue to develop?
Well, I think selfishly and wholeheartedly, I'm most excited to be able to help players in Oklahoma. That's always been my ultimate goal with all of this stuff, is I've gotten to work at amazing places across the country, learn information from all over, but ultimately the goal has always been able to try to bring the best training here to Oklahoma. Jim, as he said, Jim has a special place for this, or a special place in his heart for this place too. I have a special place for this heart too. I'd always hurt my heart seeing, what things were going on 3 hours down the road in Dallas, what the opportunities they had. They had group training, they had strength and conditioning, they had hitting, pitching, they had, these fields, like they had all of this stuff in one area. You see it in Florida, you see it in Georgia, and you see it. And I'm like, we're in Oklahoma City, we're 3 hours up the road. We have millions of people right here. Like literally, we have 6 million people in our state. Like there's not an excuse for us not being good, to put out athletes. I want to give these kids the training opportunities that I didn't have. I want to give these kids the training opportunities that the same kids in Georgia, in Florida, in Texas, and California have. That's what I want to give to these kids here. So that way there's no excuses. And definitely too, honestly, just being here, it's it's kind of always been a thing where it's we're not Texas, we're not Georgia, we're not Florida. It's like, screw that. We got Oklahoma Sooners right here in softball, the best college softball program in the nation. We have Team USA softball right here. We're literally the softball capital of the world. I don't like the excuses. I want to make sure that this place, there's no excuses. This place is the opportunity for us to get better, and we have the best training resources available, and we're going to make it happen. No more excuses about this crap.
Yep. Mic drop.
Yeah,
that's it.
Jim, is this the most fiery you've seen him yet? What is this? Is this a new guy over here?
Hey, I like that. I'm changing his name. His name's going to be Kiki McAboy.
Perfect. That's fantastic. I mean, that was the only other time I've seen him that fiery. He's in the cage after someone just backspins it to the back of the cage there.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was awesome.
There's nothing else to say other than stay tuned to our social medias. We'll be announcing events throughout the year. We're super excited to continue to meet more people that not only live in and around Oklahoma, but also across the country to come experience the Gasso Center of Excellence. And we're just fired up to meet as many people who are avid learners, and we're going to get along with you just fine.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You guys have
as long as you like tacos.
As long as you like tacos, you're going to be a good spot.
You can't argue with that, with a little bit of green sauce there for Jim.
Yeah. So the only final thought I like to share with this is when you put it all together, and I tapped it a little bit into it, is just being with people that you enjoy being around with the same mindset and the same beginning and ending to what we're doing, so that we can continue to excel in what we do and have fun doing it.
Absolutely. Oh, we're looking forward to a lot more fun together. We'll be back in a few weeks, and we're excited about it. So we appreciate you guys. We appreciate this partnership. Really grateful for it, and we're excited to continue to see where it goes. And for those listening, until next time, we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for having us.